CBT really focuses on that it's hardly ever always or never. There's usually a lot of, and if you can get a kid to kind of say, well, I'm not that good at math yet, but I'm working hard to improve my skills, that changes their feeling to maybe hopeful, and it changes their behavior to, okay, I'm willing to try these 5 problems. So that works for lots of different kinds of things. And the idea of reshaping thoughts to be more neutral or positive rather than automatically negative can have some really profound effects on a kid's behavior.
Welcome to Anthony's Way, The Road to Kindness, our podcast and YouTube channel, The Way Forward, a Kindness Mission. We want to welcome especially those joining us for the first time. It's great to have you with us. We created Anthony's Way, The Road to Kindness in memory of our dear son, Anthony, with one mission in mind: to help kids with ADHD to thrive. Since we launched Anthony's Way in October 2023, we have been able to help over 70 families get the right care for their child. What's really exciting now is that we're directly sponsoring children and covering the cost of their care. March brings in Neurodiversity Celebration Week. I think it should be more than a week. It should be the whole month, the whole year. We should always be kind to those with neurodiversity. But it's March 16th to the 20th, and it's a perfect time to bring you the top psychiatrists and psychologists to help share their thoughts on ADHD. So this month and every month, please be kind to those with ADHD, autism, dyslexia, and other neurological differences. The week aims to raise awareness about neurodiversity, promoting understanding and acceptance while challenging stereotypes and misconceptions. It's time for schools and workplaces and communities to engage in activities that foster a more inclusive environment. And we like to say everybody should be choosing kindness for ADHD, autism, and dyslexia, and others. This month we ask, what can you or will you do differently to make 2026 the best year ever? And together, let's raise awareness to what motivates you and to managing your emotions and bring out the best. And we're so excited to have part 2 with Dr. Gretchen Hunter with us again. Thank you, Gretchen, for being here.
Hi.
Hey, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
We haven't seen you in so long. So, Dr. Hunter is the Executive Director of Clinical Operations Behavioral Health at Child and Family Development in Charlotte, North Carolina. She's a licensed psychologist and a clinical neuropsychologist. Gretchen is a clinical neuropsychologist with over 15 years of experience at CNFD, where she has devoted her career to supporting children with complex developmental, neurological, and learning needs. She's deeply passionate about helping kids understand their strengths, overcome challenges, and gain access to the services that allow them to thrive. Gretchen believes strongly in empowering families with knowledge, compassion, and practical tools, ensuring they never feel alone as they navigate their child's needs. Her clinical focus includes comprehensive neuropsychological evaluations for children with complex profiles, as well as ADHD evaluations and parent education groups. Gretchen especially enjoys helping parents build confidence, skills, and strategies they can use at home to support their child's growth and emotional well-being. Woo, that's a lot.
Tremendous.
Thank you for having me.
We just love what you're doing and what your group's doing to help families in Charlotte area, but throughout North Carolina. It's really, really powerful, and we're blessed to have you with us for round 2.
Yay!
Thanks.
Round 2.
She came back for more.
You guys are great.
So please go and listen to part 1, all right, which was just awesome. Now, this section is on cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, emotional regulation skills, and collaborative problem solving, also known as CPS. Now, these are some big words, all right? But before we get into unpacking these, Gretchen, for those who might have missed part 1 or listening to this, jumped into part 2, tell a little bit more about your background, how you got into psychology. We heard a little bit more about the frog story, but not.
Sure thing. I'm a Charlotte native, and my sister was diagnosed with autism as a child. So I got the opportunity to be a sibling and go to her range of therapy appointments. She actually got services at my company, Child and Family Development, in the 80s and 90s. And so really got to see that, as part of a family, how therapies and therapists could become such an important part of just what helped my family support her. So went off to college, really enjoyed psychology and just kept going, and loved learning about brains and behavior and children. Children are so complex, and I never stop learning. So after my postdoc, I moved back home and was able to get a job at Child and
Right
Family, and have
there.
been so happy to be part of their mission ever since.
That's cool.
So it's a nice, circle of life.
Yeah, it is.
And you've been there for how long?
I started in 2011. So what
Okay.
year is it
Yeah,
now?
15
Yeah.
years, as we said.
hmm
Yeah, 15 years
Nice.
is awesome.
hmm
And it's pretty amazing that you actually saw your sister go through at the same place. So,
hmm Oh,
so
my mom still knows employees there because we have a lot of.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
and what we said in part one was that child and family development has been recognized for 2024 as being one of the best, and also in 2025. So probably 2026 too, as we look forward. But it's just
Sure.
amazing. You're doing some great work and got a great team there, and
Very passionate employees that
yeah,
care about kids.
that's the most important thing. And helping these kids find their passions is what we hope to do, and that's bringing podcasts like this with Gretchen and others is really important. So big terms.
Big
Please
term.
kind of
Okay.
unpack these terms for all the parents listening out there, and what do they mean? What are the benefit of having these therapies?
Absolutely. So oftentimes with a new ADHD diagnosis, the recommendation is go find some therapy. So, these are really three types of evidence-based, which means they've been researched in thousands of kids and families, and in different centers across the country, and are trained for licensed behavioral health clinicians to administer. And they're really kind of what's happening in the therapy room. So these are direct interventions with kids, and they often have a parent component to teach skills and also facilitate communication. So really wanting to, just demystify some of these so that parents understand how they might work and how they can utilize some of these same skills at home. So that was my goal in bringing really three of the most researched types of counseling interventions to families. So start off cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. It's been around the longest, is the most researched over decades. And the main premise is it helps kids understand the connection between their thoughts and their feelings and their actions.
Mm.
So for kids with ADHD, sometimes they describe their brain moving faster than other kids or having a hard time slowing down. CBT offers a lot of different practical tools to really notice what they're thinking and then understand how their thoughts affect their choices. And once they understand all these connections, they can then choose if they want to respond differently, if something they've been doing isn't leading to great outcomes for them. So it's I like metaphors. And so it's kind of like giving kids a remote control for their brain so they can pause, they can, slow themselves down. And so the research is multifaceted, but it really seems to help kids develop stronger problem solving skills. It reduces their emotional outbursts. It can boost their self-esteem by teaching kids about their own behavior and how to have greater control. And it also is really strongly validated for anxiety, which is a very co-occurring condition with ADHD.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So CBT is a standalone treatment for a variety of diagnoses. So it's not specific to ADHD, but it has some really nice, powerful intervention. So it doesn't cure it. It strengthens some of the ADHD symptoms that are hard to
Mhm.
manage and that cause conflict in their relationships or makes it difficult to um, um, be effective, like staying organized or being able to meet their demands at school. So CBT in counseling is really it allows for a lot of creativity and use of arts with kids because kids can't just sit and talk all the time, right? They have to understand things. They have to use their hands, and so a lot of the interventions that have been developed are very fun and playful. It's not supposed to be like boring. It's supposed to be really fun. They're supposed to really like going to see their therapist and enjoy stuff. That doesn't mean they don't talk about hard things, but especially at the beginning when they're building that relationship, a lot of the interventions look very playful. And I've had families say, like, what are they doing back there? They're just playing. And that's not it at all. So, but a lot of things are drawing or writing out thoughts or situations, sometimes using stories or characters to try to understand different perspectives. Lots of role play practice for younger kids using puppets or doll houses or sandboxes to be able to play out different behaviors.
Yeah,
Um,
I would like that a lot.
mhm.
Yeah.
A lot of it is kind of take home work. So learning how to write in your journal or keep track of how much you did this behavior or your thoughts. So there's a nice homework component for kids to be able to get more practice. And then also there's teaching kids about how their nervous system works, fight, flight, or freeze, how their brain works. So we call that psychoeducation to be able to help a kid understand, or even symptoms of ADHD, to be able to gain more knowledge and then feel more confident in using the skills and how they might work. It's really collaborative. It's not the adult lecturing the kid. It's really teamwork, and the kid has to be excited and want to do it for it to work the best.
Does
So
everybody do all kids go through this with your organization, or is it selective as to
um, interventions and treatment plans are certainly individualized, but
I-
cognitive behavioral therapy is a very broad-based, common toolbox that most behavioral health providers are trained in. So I would say kind of both.
okay.
So I have a couple of examples just so parents can
Yeah.
kind of
Okay.
see.
Yeah.
So one would be playing a thought detective game. So let's pretend that the kid is a detective and their thought is, oh, I'm terrible at math. I can't do math. And the feeling is then becoming frustrated or worried.
Mm,
And the behavior is avoiding homework. So the therapist would use a variety of interventions to say, hey, wait a second, let's check out that thought. I can't do math. I'm bad at math. Is that true? What's the evidence for it being true? What about that time you got 100 on that? And
Mm,
kind of, right? And kind of CBT really focuses on that it's hardly ever always or never. There's usually a lot of, and if you can get a kid to kind of say, well, I'm not that good at math yet, but I'm working hard to improve my skills. That changes their feeling to maybe hopeful, and it
hmm.
changes their behavior to, okay, I'm willing to try these 5 problems. So that works for lots of different kinds of things. And the idea of reshaping thoughts to be more neutral or positive rather than automatically negative can have some
Yeah.
really profound effects on a kid's behavior. And adults, we can use cognitive behavioral.
Absolutely.
I was going to ask you, is it mostly kids with ADHD that come and see you, or do you have neurotypical brains that have problems with this too that come and see you?
We see a really wide variety, but typically kids with ADHD, anxiety, depression, CBT can be really helpful for lots of different presentations. Even things like chronic pain or after a kid has a concussion,
Mm,
Mm.
CBT is validated for lots of different presenting conditions. And for adults, it's a standard of care as well for a variety of different things. It's
I
a
love how you,
it's a it's a
yeah.
good tool.
I love how you put it. Thoughts, feelings, and actions. They all go
Dots, yeah.
together.
A little triangle, a little
Yeah.
triangle. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um,
I would have never thought it was that.
it's hard to change your feelings, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
hard to change your behavior, but your thoughts are a lot easier to kind of examine
Yeah.
and engage with and say, hi, you're right. I mean, I'm not that bad in math, and to kind of reprocess. Um, Another example would be like using red light, green light. So
Mm.
using a playful, okay, let's practice walking down the hall. And, what happens when you stop and think? What happens? So lots of games, honestly, that they play in kindergarten are pretty good
Yeah.
cognitive behavioral games,
Yeah.
helping with impulsivity, checking themselves, checking in with their body on how they're feeling. Um, Other kinds of examples are being able to do feeling identification. So really, therapists spend a lot of time at the beginning of treatment making sure kids understand emotions, understand vocabulary about emotions, understanding how to where they reside in their body. The idea of your butterflies in your stomach means that you might be worried
Mm.
about something. If your heart's beating really fast, that might mean that you're scared. So, that connection between their physical experience and their emotions. Oftentimes kids are like, no, I'm sick. I can't go to school. My stomach hurts. And it's like, well, okay, did you eat something bad? Or are you feeling nervous about that math test? So it's
Mm.
about raising their awareness about things. And there's all kinds of fun ways to do that. Sometimes we have a kid lay down on a big piece of paper and we draw the outline of their body. And then we have them, draw and color and fill in things, to kind of describe why do your palms get sweaty, right? I mean,
Mm.
those are good cognitive behavioral things for younger kids, so they can start to see the relationship. Um, um, but really a lot of creative, playful games, Jenga, right? There's all kinds of fun stuff
Oh,
that
wow.
could be
Yeah.
turned into a cognitive behavioral task. Um, you asked me something else. I forgot. So the adult part is how do we help coach a kid through negative thinking? How do we help them reframe?
Mm.
And so that's really where the parenting piece is, how do we help them with changing their thought patterns and supporting that. Another big part of cognitive behavioral therapy really gets into it's kind of a subset, but the idea of emotion regulation
Yeah.
skills. And so, thinking about how to name your emotions, how to calm your body down. And so this is really where relaxation or coping skills comes from. It's a core part of cognitive behavioral therapy. So trying to help kids identify when they're starting to get upset and how to use a skill to be able to regulate back down, and to try to understand how they just kind of flip their lid, and it's hard to think clearly. It's because your brain doesn't think all that well when you're very upset, and so trying to help kids understand all that and help parents understand, hey, if your kid is having a tantrum, they're really not listening, and that's probably not the time to try to explain something to them. You have to wait till they get back down to baseline, with their, just like you or I, if we're on a roller coaster, that's not the time to be like trying to do your taxes, right? I mean, whenever you're in a heightened emotional state, it's hard to think clearly and use your logic to kind of a good example would be a kid who's really afraid of thunderstorms, and being able to use kind of okay, what could happen to your house in a thunderstorm? Well, the lightning could come and it could, get through my house, and being able to replace some, I mean, tornadoes.
That's
Oh,
me.
I know. So being able to, you're scared of the lightning. Okay.
Oh my God.
Um,
So
and
fun
so
hurricanes.
talking yourself through using logic to kind of combat some of those fearful thoughts is a really standard cognitive behavioral, like, okay,
I gotta start using that.
Yeah, I think
like,
I think we need to go.
Yeah.
tornadoes. Okay, but how rare are how common are tornadoes? How can you keep yourself safe? So it's tools to help a kid or an adult kind of talk back to their worries, being able to get a handle on that emotional, and so it just doesn't feel so big. They're able to understand it and put it back together.
So Gretchen, we're still in the thoughts and the feeling stage, right? We haven't taken
Yes,
action.
yes,
The thoughts,
yes,
both of these are thoughts and feelings. The CBT,
yes.
the emotional regulation. Okay.
Yes, yes. So for emotion regulation, research says that it can really help kids reduce kind of their emotional distress, meltdowns,
Hmm.
tantrums. It can help their brain's ability to pause and, cope
Yeah.
with strong feelings.
Yeah.
And they can use those in school or with friendships and family life. And CBT has strong evidence to reduce just family distress. If your kid is having really big emotional symptoms, that is very distressing for everybody in the family, and parents really want to know how to help. So a couple of examples are that are really into the emotion regulation feelings, and these all kind of flow into each other. So
Yeah. Yeah.
they're
It's
kind of
great.
all tools. But an example would be a feelings thermometer. So teaching a kid that, small feelings are down here and big feelings are up here. Okay, let's think of some situations that you've had small sadness and then some situations you've had big sadness. And can they, like a pain thermometer,
Yeah.
pediatricians will teach a younger kid how to say, what's the number of your pain? There's lots of things to try to help a kid score and say, "Oh, I'm so mad, I'm so mad the dog ate my homework." And okay, but if is that really a big deal? Is that a small deal? Lots of different curriculums kind of help kids be able to kind of reassess and make sure that they're using their logic to kind of match the size of the feeling. Another, lots of cute examples are about deep breathing. Deep breathing is a really great relaxation skill that can settle their nervous system. And so lots of creative ways to teach kids to, trace their 5 fingers and do breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Have kids lay on the ground and put a stuffed animal on their stomach and make their belly go up and down is called belly breathing. So kid interventions are about um, making something more concrete so the kid can see it working or there's something they can do. It's not just a thought exercise for teens or adults, it's much more talk and think, but for kids, it's acting these things out so they understand the concepts. Um, an example of calming activity would be to make a glitter jar. So you put the glitter in and the kid shakes it up and then they watch it settle down. So the amount of time it takes to settle down, we want them to be breathing and regulating. So it gives them a bit of a timer and a concrete something they could see.
That's
Those
cool.
would all be
That's cool.
examples of developmentally appropriate for elementary school age. Um, and so a lot of work with kids is helping them give them a menu of coping skill choices and then practice them and then choose, oh, this one felt really good to me. So I'm practicing in session with the therapist, but I really like popping bubble wrap when I'm upset, or I really like drawing when I'm upset, or I really like heading out to the tire swing at my house. So they're not confined to one space. We want kids to have a lot of different things that they can use when they're in the car, when they're at their desk at school, when they're frustrated by their little brother or sister, So the idea of things that they can learn and practice and recognize. And the goal is that they want to go do these things. They help them feel better. And I love it when a kid will say, they're so proud of themselves. I used my coping skills. I was very
Mm.
upset and I went and did my thing and it made me feel better. And hopefully we as adults all have coping skills too.
Good.
What are some of your favorite coping skills?
Who ours?
Hmm.
I don't know if we have any.
I'm sure you
I
do.
I use deep breathing. I use the four
Mm,
seven eight method. That method I
mm,
was taught, whereas
mm,
you inhale for 4, you hold it for 7, you exhaust it out for 8. That's been an old method that I use. That was one that martial arts we always, because that the holding piece helps the brain and helps the body, and the release is you're getting all of the bad thoughts or bad things out of your body. So that's the method I always use.
I walk out of the room.
Yeah, some leave. Yeah,
Yeah, some do.
some do.
Right? Like disconnect. I mean, I love seeing
Disconnect.
adults. I
Yeah.
love seeing adults. Some of
Yeah,
them,
yeah.
you know, go to the gym as a preventative. Oh my gosh, if I can't get to the gym, I don't feel like myself. I know, kids and adults that stop and drink some water, right? Go hug their stuffed animal, lots of different things. And to practice. And really when we teach kids, we want them to practice all the time, not when they're upset. We want them to practice and really get these down when they're calm. And then we want to praise and reward them for using them because it's a new behavior, it's a new skill.
That's cool.
And then they can get into maybe being prompted to initiate them if they're starting to get upset by an adult. And then eventually we want them to use these themselves. So it's not it's not a I know families that feel like, how fast will this go? And it's like, a lot of times there's the teaching and then the practice and then so really and it's great once a kid has them, they can be really great for them and use them for a long time. So we want to make sure they're really solid
When they're with you, when you're with their therapist and they're going through these they're right there at the session, right? They're going to be going through all of these pieces.
we're practicing and then we're saying, guess what, mom, guess what, dad, here's what we practiced today.
Okay.
Can we teach you this? And the kids are often very excited to practice and show off. And then
Well, learning occurs when they can teach somebody, right? So it's kind of
mhm.
cool. They can go and teach their parents. So
I've been so pleased with how schools and other settings have adopted, some of these techniques that are really cognitive behavioral frames in terms of relaxation skills, mindfulness skills, and really, even sensory rooms, to be able to kind of prompt that we need to it's a form of self-care is being able to regulate yourself. And it's important throughout our life
yeah,
for all kids.
yeah, it's great. So are the parents sometimes in there too with them as they're going through some of these?
Totally depends on the treatment plan and the treatment goals and the relationship. For some families, it's great to be able to teach them or, teach the kid and then immediately share with the parent. For other families, it's really helpful to break into kind of separate parent sessions where, talking through the techniques,
Okay.
providing information or kind of handouts on what's happening. So there's lots of different ways to make sure the family feels really connected with what's going on and what they need to be doing to support.
I like the hand one. I like the breathing in the hand.
Yeah.
I've not heard of that one before, but by the time you get through all of it, it's a pause, right? You'd help
It's
one
a
kid
pause.
pause.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
instead of
Mm-hmm.
taking an action that might not be the right action. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So how long does it take for them to learn the stuff, to learn this? Is everybody? I'm sure every child's different, right? So
Every child's different. Most families see, a good response, getting started 3 or 4 months, kind of a weekly sessions, being able to learn the skills, practice at home, and then kind of make any tweaks, do troubleshooting. And so being able, it's a fairly short, course of therapy if the kid is a good candidate and likes to do it and wants to buy in and the family's providing a lot of support. It can definitely be more complicated though if the kid needs a little more time to warm up to the therapist or needs more
yeah.
time to practice. Yeah.
What I kind of like is that you're not talking about this is all executive function in the brain. So emotional regulation is one of the pieces, right?
Uh-huh.
So,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not talking about it as executive function. So, which kind of people get confused. What does that mean, right? But you're talking about the specific part that works on this piece. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's all about raising self-awareness too. You have, right? Is that,
It absolutely. I mean, teaching kids about how their brain works. I mean, I teach every kid I've ever met about their frontal lobe and their
yeah.
amygdala and their hippocampus because I
Right.
think I think it makes it more real that this
Yeah.
isn't
Mhm.
just
Yes.
them messing around or or why these things go together and why everybody experiences this. I think it can just help decrease embarrassment or stigma or and then they have a common language and they can and they can say to their parents, I'm just flipping my frontal lobe lid right now, or whatever. Kids are so
Well,
funny,
and
so
Yeah.
funny.
they're better able to advocate for themselves
Yes.
too when they
Yeah.
understand why they're doing the things that they're doing.
Yeah.
And I find very few settings or grown-ups are completely would ignore a child that's like, I'm sorry, I just need a quick break. Like we
Yeah.
want to teach kids to advocate for themselves, to recognize like, whew, I'm, getting upset and I need some support, or
Mhm.
that calling a friend is a good thing, or writing in a journal. There's a wonderful kind of shorthand that the Whole Brain Child is a wonderful resource, Dan Siegel, but the idea of name it to tame it. So the idea of our language center, if you talk about feelings, if you talk them out, if you draw them out, if you write them out, that helps you get them under control. I think that that's such a valuable shorthand to teach kids, that we don't expect them to just have these big emotions and no tools to try to help. That feels bad. And so we want kids to get their needs met in appropriate ways. And so teaching them, I think we should teach coping skills to every kid.
Yeah.
I would 100%
Yeah,
agree.
I think so.
So
So, give us some success stories. What's a few success
oh, there's a lot. There's
stories?
so many. At our practice, and I get the benefit of supervising other staff and hearing from colleagues. I feel like what's really interesting, especially about emotion regulation, is that it can be tackled through a variety of disciplines. So I don't know if you know this, but occupational therapy does a lot of emotion
Mhm.
regulation teaching and coaching in very play-based ways, as along with behavioral health providers. So I just love some of the creativity I see about drawing pictures, making obstacle courses, pretending the floor is lava, right? I just love some of the, really creative ways to kind of get a kid. And there's some really very cool research about kind of video games to build emotion regulation skills,
Mm,
which is interesting. And one of our providers has really had fun running groups about that to teach these skills in a really fun format. You may not realize that video games can be a really nice
good.
emotion
It's a good
regulation.
game. Good video games. That would be cool.
And the
But
kids love it. They love it. So getting their buy-in, using things that they enjoy. You can teach emotion regulation with Minecraft. You can teach it with, lots of different fun ways. So I enjoy when just how creative our therapists can be. I think that's super fun.
awesome. Yeah, awesome. So what about collaborative problem solving? How
Okay.
how does this flow in from these other two? Or
Um, this is a newer adjacent and I research-based intervention, and I wanted to highlight it because it's really more about the family and child relationship and teaching them skills to communicate better, to decrease distress within the family and decrease the child's symptoms. So cognitive behavioral therapy can be delivered, to the child, to the parent child, lots of different ways. But CPS is really about the relationship between the kids and the adults. So um, it really our last section really focused on behavior, so rewards and consequences. But CPS really focuses on, first we have to understand the child's concerns, and then we can understand the adult's concerns, and then we can work together on a plan. And I
mm,
feel like this is just as a clinician, this really speaks to me because my goal is to treat symptoms and decrease distress and give the family tools that they can use for the rest of their relationship while the kid is living in the house and even after. And so I really like this. It's simple to do, but it's hard to do. So let me tell you about a little bit about that. But the basic premise is that kids do well if they can. So kids want to succeed. They want to please their parents. They want to have friends. And so if a kid is not doing those things, we instead of blaming the kid or saying that they're unmotivated or coming up with some that we need to target what are the skills that they're missing and how do we try to teach those? And that really feels very affirming and supportive. And I really like that framework. So I believe that kids are often missing skills, not motivation. You know, if things come easy, they'll do it all day long. And so the research on CPS is that it definitely reduces challenging behaviors like arguing, refusing. It improves parent and child communication. It helps kids build flexibility. Um, and it strengthens their frustration tolerance because most of our world's problems are really about, being able to compromise and hear other people's point of view. So I really like it because it teaches that as well. Um,
Plus gets kids talking, right? Isn't
it
the
gets ki-
whole
it get
concept? I mean, when you're talking to the child, isn't that a lot better than,
absolutely,
not talking? I mean, that's what they want.
absolutely, and I find that let me walk you through the steps and
Okay.
then you'll see how helpful it is. Okay, so the first step is called the empathy step. So the adult has to be humble enough to kind of come with some curiosity and say, "Hey, I've noticed that mornings have been stressful lately. What's up?" So it's really an invitation when everybody's calm to kind of say, what does the kid think is going on? And then the adult gets to say, here's my concern, I want us to get to school on time and I don't want you to feel rushed. So, here's kind of the problem. We're getting out the door late and there's a lot of yelling and, and so trying to come up with what can we do to make mornings easier? And so it really is a back and forth conversation where the kid might say, um, well, I can't find my shoes and I don't have enough time to eat breakfast and I really want to watch my favorite show. I really like this in practical terms because the smart grown-up can sit over here and say, let me solve all the problems, but the smart grown-up doesn't know the kid's point of view. And I am continually shocked by what kids are saying. I don't like brushing my teeth because the toothpaste is too minty. What? Okay. And so sometimes that's not actually a way to solve the problem, but it's important to have the kid feel heard and
Yeah.
and it's important to say, okay, well, what if we tried out some different types of toothpaste? Let's try that out and check back next week to see how it's going. um Kids who are refusing to do homework, sometimes really what you find out is that the work is too hard. Sometimes what you find out is that the kid's exhausted from school. Sometimes you find out that the kid is really, frustrated that they have to do so much, and they would be fine if it was just shorter. So I really think that the starting with the kid's point of view and then negotiating as an adult um, is just a powerful intervention. It helps kids feel heard. And it helps ultimately, it takes a little longer because you have to compromise and you have to be willing to go with some of the things that the kid says. But ultimately, you solve the problem in a way that everybody can then live with. And so it's hard for parents because you have to kind of give up some of the things that you want to happen. But ultimately, it gets you to a better thing than butting heads.
Is that called picking your battles?
Pick your pick your battles, pick your battles. um, and so I I actually do this with my own kids. So, hey, what's up? And it starts the conversation. And I'm like, oh, I'll be able to do this into their 40s, because
Yeah.
it's a good skill. But you do have to say, I'd be willing to give up this thing that I thought was so important. I think we could probably get to this over time. So the CPS model has lots of free handouts for families. They really want to make things very accessible. But I love the way they talk about plan A is that the adult decides the problem and the solution. And so plan A is what most adults are used to dealing with. Plan B is you negotiate, and plan C is we're not going to tackle this right now. Like our family isn't up for this, butting heads. We're purposely going to put this aside. And I think that that's a really validating thing to tell families as well, that you don't have to tackle everything all at once. You can say, you know what, our morning routines are terrible. We're going to work on that for a while, and we're not going to work on bedtime right now because we only have so much bandwidth. And I think that that's permission to be systematic and work on things that respect your child's perspective. I think is a very I've experienced a lot of value with that in family sessions, and working with families over time.
Great. So what comes next? What's next? We got empathy, right? This is that we just spending time on empathy. Making sure we understand the kid's perspective.
Hmm.
What
And
we
then
what
and
has
then the adult perspective, you say, here's my concern. I'm worried that if
Okay.
you don't do your math homework, you're going to make a bad math grade. So
yeah.
you get to share your concern too.
I gotcha.
Uh-huh. And then you say, what do you think we should do about it?
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you come up with some sort of solution that where both parties are getting some of their needs met. Maybe not all their needs, but some of their needs met.
I teach some of this in business. Jeez. Go a long way. As opposed to not everybody's always right.
Huh? Uh-huh.
That's plan
Again,
A. Was that plan A, I think? Yeah, that was plan A.
yeah.
Plan
Plan A, you can't always have plan A. You're not,
A.
some of it is
No.
you get more with honey than with vinegar, right? I mean, some of it is about but it's about a negotiating and compromised. I think that adults don't realize that number one is appropriate to do with kids, depending on how they were raised. If we were all raised in plan A households,
Yeah.
then we would never consider or the idea that we're giving in or spoiling our kids, but that's really not how it's designed. It's designed to be respectful to both parties and lead
Yeah.
to long-term change.
Yeah. I was raised in a plan A household, where you do what you're told to do, and we don't talk about our feelings and things like that. So it was hard for me as a parent to do anything other than that, at the beginning. And that's what I was saying to you before. Like, I've learned a lot of parenting skills that I wish that I'd had, uh, with my children, with all of my children, not just
Yeah,
Anthony, but with all of them. It would have been a much calmer, nicer place on some days.
some days. Well, it wasn't bad, but it was, yeah, definitely. But so again, you take those buckets of morning, the dinner study time, right? And then the nighttime. Those are three buckets that you work on, right? I mean, that's where all the issues are. I mean, and those are times when parents are together with their child.
Mhm.
You hope that until they start playing all kinds of sports and then they're never home for dinner. So then you're out eating what you shouldn't be eating. But yeah. I mean, I hear from parents that we talk to now that mornings are miserable and night times are miserable. And using these concepts would be great for them to take that approach.
Yeah, I mean, I think getting kids buy-in and being okay if the first solution doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's how you come back to the negotiating table and you say, okay, how do you think that went this week? Let's see. So you only earned your your toothbrushing reward 2 out of 5 nights. Like, do we think that's really working for you? How can we get it up to 5 nights? And the idea that, building on success and fine tuning is part of the process. And that's not giving in or not being a disciplinarian. That's teaching kids valuable life skills.
It's cool. So the mint toothpaste might not be the one, but let's get 2 or 3 other ones and let's try them and see which one you like. Right?
Let's
There's
see.
nothing wrong with that because
Mhm.
not everybody's tastes are the same.
Not everybody's tastes are the same. Let's go shopping in the toothbrush aisle. Is there a different shape of a toothbrush that might help? Is it, right? There's all kinds of, all kinds of stuff out
That's
there.
it.
And it's not
I
about
would
spending a
never
bunch of
ever
money.
think
Oh,
I would
no,
never
that's right.
ever think it was the shape of a toothbrush, but
Yeah.
but now that you're saying it, it makes sense.
But if you don't ask the kids,
Right,
then I just mean kids are funny as the day is long. And I have been like, well, I would have never thought of that problem that you're saying.
right.
Um,
So
Go
what do
ahead.
you do when a child doesn't want to communicate during that piece? I'm sure you
Um,
run into that. Like the child
yes,
just doesn't want to talk. That I mean, they're bothered. They don't like the brushing the teeth in the morning or at night, and they don't want to tell you what's going on with them. How do you deal with that?
I feel like it is about, okay, how do we build trust? If you've been a plan A parent your whole, sometimes they're not going to take you at your word that you're gonna. So, kids don't let us forget stuff. So part of
Right.
it is
Oh yeah, we know.
They remember everything they do.
you're introducing the concept and you're saying, hey, I've been noticing and I want to try some new stuff, right? So you putting it out there and say, okay, we're going to table this for now. It sounds like, this is not a problem that you want to solve with me right now. That's okay. Are there any problems that you would like to solve? So part of it is about introducing the idea and then circling back to the idea to say, I'm willing to give a little bit. I'm willing to engage in this process. And I found that, that kids, that again, once they kind of get, you know, are you for real? Then they really are willing to. And if this is a, therapy intervention, so it has more gravitas because you're there with the therapist. And so it's kind of like, well, my parents have to do it because they like said they would, here in the therapist's office. So the initial is teaching and kind of modeling and problem solving with the idea that the family then takes these skills home and is able to do this completely independently and that it works for them. So they want to keep using it.
Hmm, cool.
Mm-hmm. These are wonderful tools, and I'm so glad that our professionals learn how to do all kinds of creative stuff and can really guide families to get
I
some
think this,
relief, get some meaningful outcomes. That the
I
family.
Yeah.
think this is
They
awesome.
really make, as a parent, that really makes you think, about how you do things.
It really does. I think this.
Knowing that there are other ways that it can be done.
There are. I certainly I always try to practice what I've learned as a parent, and it is not always easy, but
No.
at least I know
How-
what I'm supposed
So
to be
you,
doing.
Well,
so you bring what you do at work home to your family and try to implement it there and see if it works, right? Is that?
Of course, I did a
we
lot
all
of
implement.
behavioral.
I know we all. I mean, yeah, we all should, but
I
no.
did a
But
lot
I
of
kind of like what you said
behavioral.
about. I kind of like what you said about the child laying down. You draw the child out, and that I've never thought about that before.
Tony would like to have that done.
Yeah, no, well, no, I would like to just. I mean, this is playtime. This to me, this is play. This
It
is
is.
playtime. This is like being creative and having fun.
It
That's
is.
what I
Think
mean.
about little
That's what I
Juliet. Little
mean.
Juliet. Let's
Mhm.
put her down the
I
floor. Let's
know.
draw her out. You know,
Oh,
Oh, we
that would
use,
be
you
fun
should see
stuff.
the toys
That
in
would.
our play.
Oh,
We draw on the whiteboard and we
I knew I
do
wanted to run.
puppets and It is fun. It
I
is
knew
really
that maybe
fun.
there's a second life for me somewhere there.
A play therapist?
there's always a chance to improve,
Oh, geez. Yeah.
an opportunity
The first the
for all of
first
us.
first segment was okay, but yeah, definitely improvement. This is cool. So is it so how do let's talk about how you initiate parents to these concepts. How do What's the thought process there?
A lot of, parents will seek services from a behavioral health professional after they've checked in with their pediatrician. Hey, we're having this thing. The preschool
Okay.
teacher, the school teacher brought this up. And so there's kind of a referral process. And so the initial discussion is, okay, what do we think's going on? How could we help? And so there's a lot of informed consent of this is what, you're telling me, this is what I think we can work on here. Let's develop the treatment plan, so parents have a good sense of what the why and what to expect. And I think that's really critical because
Okay.
otherwise,
Yeah.
and that they're a really important part of it, you're not just like dropping your kid off back there
Mm-mm.
in the therapy
No.
room,
Right. Right.
because they're a kid. And so, they're gonna be like, I don't know, we just played, and then, they're not gonna know how to initiate practice at home.
Well,
So
we're big
I
believers in parents being involved in all of this stuff. I
We
mean,
require it.
yeah, I mean,
absolutely,
until they get to the point where maybe 13, 14, where they want to have sessions on their own, but
sure.
parents need to be involved.
They definitely do. And I think it's really cool to, teach a concept or a technique to parent and kid at the same time, depending on, again, to your point, privacy and sensitivity and kind of, but if there are families that I've known that I taught a, cognitive behavioral technique, 10 years ago, and they tell me they use it, all the time. So these are, I mean, these are good things for,
Yeah,
marriages, these are good things for.
like carry on.
Yeah.
No,
So is this something that would benefit some families have turmoil in their family caused by one or the other. And so the child is getting a lot of negativity, from that. So
Mm,
there's a lot of other things going into their
mm.
feelings. Um, is this would be something that would be beneficial to them, or is there something else that they should do, like to get maybe things settled down a little bit first?
I think that family conflict is, I mean, this is certainly my caveat is that I, encourage families to seek out a provider and trust their assessment on this is what's going to help because of course it's so individualized. But yeah, if the family conflict is about the kid's behavior and this is going to help, the kid's behavior and their communication get better, these are wonderful kinds of strategies. If we have a higher level of conflict, perhaps related to parent households,
mhm.
then
Yeah.
there's really kind of specialized treatments that are adjacent and often can be utilized through a different lens and really with a different provider. Those kinds of higher levels of conflict
Hmm.
are pretty specialized because there's a
Yeah,
lot of moving pieces. So we want to
right.
make so
Well,
we routinely work with partners and assess and decide, okay, what's going to be the right match
Hmm.
in terms of the provider skill set and the treatment approach. Yeah, it's
Yes, especially when one parent keeps inserting themselves when they don't live in the household, and they keep inserting themselves, and it causes a negative reaction every time that happens.
if
So, I mean,
if
that's
if
kind of not,
if
I don't know if that's controllable or not.
if kids are complicated, family systems are even more
Oh,
complicated.
absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah,
Hmm.
especially in
Hmm.
today's environment where there's a lot of, I mean, you got shared custodies and other stuff too,
Hmm.
where now in that type of situation, would you require both parents to come? I mean, even though they're or the
I
parent,
can tell you one of them wouldn't be
how would
wouldn't
I
be
mean,
willing to.
yeah, how would you deal with that? Just
Um, as a so focusing on divorce or two parent or parent coordination would
Mm,
really be a specialty service. So we would really refer
okay,
to some colleagues. We have lots of families who
okay,
participate in services, and it's really about, are we able to meet their needs um,
right,
based on their
right.
child. So it really depends on the family structure, and that's all really determined during the intake process. Finding out
Yeah,
about the family structure and the relationships.
but
And
you're so well connected there in the
oh,
area that you have so many other pieces. Like if you had a serious issue, you would know who to go to if there
Absolutely.
were other things
Absolutely.
going on, right?
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm. Hmm. And yeah, there's lots of in behavioral health, lots of specialties, like eating disorder would be considered a
Oh,
specialty.
yeah.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Things like that.
Now, do you, as with the psychiatrist and other things, do you have a waiting list?
What
It
you're saying
depends.
is there's a lot of we hear a lot that there's not enough
There's not enough
enough
services,
to handle all the parent.
right? Like people have to wait 6 months to get this service or that
Mm,
service, or
I would say it depends on the service. A child neurologist, there are just not that many child neurologists. So
right?
wait times for specialists can certainly
Yeah.
be long. And then, but certainly in terms of initial assessment, getting started, no, that doesn't take too long. The thing that can take a while is if a family really needs an after school treatment spot. That can
Mhm.
be very
Yeah.
tough,
Right.
no matter the service, because you think like three,
Right.
4, 5 o'clock. There's only so many of those. So
Right.
Yeah.
oftentimes a family will actually pull their kid out of school and get started,
Mm.
earlier in the day. And schools we found are so flexible with a school note to say, hey, this child's going to participate in therapy. It's a short term. So sometimes I feel families feel really frustrated that that there's no 5 o'clock spot.
Right.
But in terms of depending on I mean, we're in Charlotte, we have lots of providers. I think perhaps in underserved communities, there's not as much access, but
Right.
usually in terms of if a family is flexible, and then insurance, it can be another, so you have to match in terms of, how they're going to their payment and then also the
Mm.
time of day. So sometimes those additional hurdles can feel like, oh, there's nobody to see my kid, but there actually is. It's just kind of a workaround for
Right.
some other. I don't know if I'm explaining that,
Yeah,
but
you
No, you are.
are.
You are.
You are.
No, no, that's good because we hear a lot about that there's not enough psychiatrists, not enough psychologists, and we have, there's a number of kids that have we're running into that parents believe they have ADHD and well, they need to get assessed.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
getting the right person to do the assessment, and that's not was is doing an assessment. Is that something you do virtually or would you prefer?
Mm.
Obviously, best to have child right there and parents right there, right?
For for our service, we are able to do a mixture of virtual, so like the parent intake can be virtual to get
Okay.
started, but testing is
Yeah.
standardized administration with the kid in person.
Right
Hmm.
there. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. This is
Um,
awesome.
yeah, you guys are great.
Did you learn something?
Yes, I did.
I learned something.
I learned a lot. I learned more than the
I like
I'm so
CBT.
glad. You like CBT?
Yeah,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
like all of it. I really do. I think I can make this could be playful and you can still get a lot accomplished making it fun. It's like figuring out how kids learn, or and really how to figure out. But I like the emotional regulation piece too, because the thoughts, feelings, and actions, if you get kids to pause and they
Hmm.
don't make bad choices,
Hmm.
we
Hmm.
didn't have that.
Hmm.
We That was the challenge with Anthony is we couldn't get to that point where his actions were always first and then he thought about it later. It's just or he didn't he just jumped right over it. And in a lot of cases. And
Yeah.
we didn't have the right skill sets and we didn't have the right people involved to figure that piece out. I mean we learn.
Yeah.
But now
Hmm.
now we have the opportunity to help kids and what we're doing is to help families to make sure that decisions are I mean that the kids make the right decision, make the right choices, and they figure out how to pause. But
Hmm.
I learned a lot here too. This is great. It's really
I'm
cool.
So
Really
I'm
cool.
is there
glad.
anything
Yeah,
that we
anything
didn't
else?
talk about? And by the way, you are considered a specialty, are you not?
Yeah.
Yeah, psychological evaluations would be considered, especially. I think I was thinking more about all behavioral health people to deliver the counseling services, counselors, social workers. Hopefully, you could find easier access and less wait times to be able to
Okay.
get into folks that do a
I got
great
you.
job with kids. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Anything else? I want parents to give themselves a lot of grace. It is
Mm,
parenting stress is a real phenomenon, and knowing how to get the support you need, not feel guilty about, how things are going. Some kids are hard to get it right, and they need a lot of pieces. And so
Yeah.
I see, parents put a lot of pressure on themselves to, and I encourage you to, shop around, definitely find a provider that you really gel with, that you trust, and try to do what they say as best you can. And I think you'll feel a lot better. Your family will feel better. It's worth it. It's definitely worth it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it definitely is worth it.
Yeah, so much.
But
That's
then,
great.
of course, cost comes into the equation, as well.
But that's why we're here. We hope that we can cover, we're raising funds so we can cover the cost of care for as many kids as we can. I mean, until the money runs out, then we'll do it again, figure out how to do it again. So that's what we're here about.
You guys are awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
So we are so excited to be partnering with Gretchen and her team at Child and Family Development. That brings us to the end of today's episode and part 2 with Dr. Hunter. And what a powerful conversation and so much learning in this segment. Thank you very much. You've taught us a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
If you found this episode helpful and part 1 helpful, please share them with someone who might need it, a parent, a teacher, or anyone walking the ADHD journey. The more we spread this information, the more support we bring to our kids. To learn more about Anthony's Way, the Road to Kindness, and our mission to empower children and teens with ADHD, visit us online and follow along on social media. Also, please subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue making a difference in these kids' lives. Gretchen, we thank you, and we thank you for those that are listening in today.
Yeah, and thank all of your, give a round of applause to all of your psychologists and all your other folks in your practice. I mean, what they're doing and touching so many people. God bless them every day. Really, it's very serious stuff. So, and we like to always wrap up with our motto,
our family motto.
All right, you heard it in part 1. We'll say it again. Today is the best day of our
life, and tomorrow will be even better. And life is better with you.
Please post that, put it out there, put it on the fridge, say it every morning with your kids. It's so important that they know they're valuable, and they are valuable. Life is better with them in it. So Thank you all for listening. Gretchen, thank you again.
Thank you.
Best.
Thank you. Take care.
Best. Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening to our podcasts. We hope you're getting a lot out of them. Now we have to ask you for your help.
First, if you like our videos and podcast, please hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss an important episode. Our team puts a lot of effort into bringing you the best leaders and voices in the ADHD space. And if you wouldn't mind sharing them, we sure would appreciate it.
Second, we need your help to help these wonderful kids that are struggling with the challenges of ADHD. Your donation is an investment in giving a family the opportunity to get the right care for their child through our care model and our care roadmap. Every donation goes to helping these families that cannot cover the cost of care. Any amount helps. If you want to be a sponsor for our YouTube or podcast channel, we would love to talk with you.
And most importantly, a little bit of kindness goes a long way, especially for kids with ADHD.
Thank you for your continued support.